Welcome to my channel. I'm Elvira Arcana, and today we're looking at, will your person come back, or are they only missing you without any real intention of doing something about it? Okay, so we have pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. Take a moment, breathe, and choose the pile you feel most naturally drawn to. Try not to overthink it, or choose the one you think you should pick. Your first instinct is usually the one to follow. As always, if you're drawn to more than one, definitely watch both of them or all of them, because there could be hidden messages in any of the piles that you're meant to hear. Okay, if you picked pile 1, this reading is for you. Okay, pile 1. So we're starting off by looking at the current energy between you and this person. So we have the 8 of Swords, the 6 of Cups, and the Sun. Immediately, this does feel like a connection where the feelings themselves haven't necessarily disappeared, but the situation has become stuck. There is so much mental energy around this connection. Someone here is overthinking everything. What happened, what they should have said, what they could have done differently, whether it's too late to fix things. It feels like there has been very little actual movement, but a lot happening internally. The 8 of Swords can also show me that one or both of you feel powerless in this situation. Almost like, there is nothing I can do now, the decision isn't mine. But I don't necessarily think that it's completely true. I think fear, pride, or uncertainty may be making the situation feel more impossible than it actually is. Then we have the 6 of Cups, which tells me this person is absolutely looking backwards. There is nostalgia here. They're remembering the good moments, replaying conversations, and possibly comparing other people or experiences to what they had with you. This may be someone you have a long history with, someone you have known for years, or simply someone who felt incredibly familiar very quickly. For some of you, this could also be a connection that has gone through repeated cycles, coming together, separating, missing each other, and then finding your way back again. Then we move on to the Sun. So despite the confusion and distance, the energy underneath this connection is not cold. There are still very warm feelings here. You may have genuinely made this person happy, or you brought a sense of lightness into their life that they haven't easily replaced. The Sun can also suggest that something is going to become clearer. What has been hidden, avoided, or overcomplicated cannot stay that way forever. So I do feel this connection is unfinished, but right now it's sitting in this strange space where the memories and feelings are very present, while the action is being blocked by someone's own thoughts and fears. To confirm that this is your pile, you may have known this person from childhood, school, or for a significant amount of time. You might associate them with summer, children, Leo energy, or a particularly happy period of your life. There may also be little reminders of them appearing lately, songs, old photos, dreams, or memories coming back completely out of nowhere. So yes, the connection still has energy around it, but the real question is whether this person is going to move beyond simply remembering you and actually doing something about it. So now we're going to look at, how do they currently feel about you and the separation? Oh my gosh, okay. So we have the Ace of Swords, the 3 of Swords, and the Devil. So first of all, group 1. This person's not confused about the fact that this separation has hurt them. The Ace of Swords tells me they have had some kind of realization about you, about the connection, or about their own behavior. Something has become very clear to them since the separation. They may now understand what they lost. They may understand why things fell apart, or they may be seeing a truth that they were unwilling to admit while the two of you were still connected. Mentally, they are thinking about having a conversation with you. There is something they want to say. There may be an apology, an explanation, a confession, or simply a need to finally clear the air. I also feel like they may rehearse conversations with you in their head, imagining what they would say, how they would react, and whether the conversation would make things better or just reopen the wound. Emotionally, though, we have the Three of Swords. This person is hurting, and I don't think they've fully processed that hurt. They may act detached, logical, or as though they have accepted the ending, but underneath that, there is still grief here. They could feel rejected by you, betrayed by how things ended, or deeply disappointed that the connection did not become what they believed it could have been. For some of you, there may have been a third-party influence. That does not automatically mean another romantic person. It could have been family, friends, work, distance, or another situation that came between you. But the Three of Swords tells me the separation is not something they simply brushed off and moved on from. Then we have the Devil, and this is what I feel they are refusing to acknowledge. They're still very attached to you, possibly more attached than they would ever admit. There may be a strong physical attraction here, but this goes beyond that. It feels obsessive in places. They may check your social media, wonder who you're speaking to, imagine you moving on, or feel jealous even though they're not currently in a position to claim you. The Devil can also show someone who knows the connection has unhealthy patterns but still cannot fully release it. So they may recognize that the two of you brought out intense emotions in each other. There may have been control issues, avoidance, jealousy, codependency, or a cycle of pulling each other close, pushing each other away. But even knowing that, part of them still wants the connection, and that is the truth they are struggling with. They know this separation hurt them. They know there are things that need to be spoken about, and they know they're still tied to you emotionally, mentally, and possibly physically. The problem is that wanting you and knowing how to build something healthy with you are not necessarily the same thing. So their feelings are definitely still there, but they are complicated. There is pain, attachment, desire, and a very uncomfortable level of clarity about what this connection has done to them. Now we're going to move on to the big question I'm sure you're all here for. Do they actually want to come back? Alright, so we have the World, the Five of Pentacles, and the Two of Pentacles. Honestly, this is not giving me a simple yes. Do they miss you? Yes. Do they think about returning? I believe they do. But are they currently ready to come back and genuinely rebuild this connection in a stable, consistent way? I'm not convinced they are there yet. The World tells me that, on some level, this person knows an important cycle between the two of you has ended. That does not necessarily mean the connection is permanently over, but they know they cannot simply come back and continue exactly where things left off. Too much has happened. Something about the old version of this relationship has completed itself. And I think this person goes back and forth between seeing that as closure and wondering whether the two of you could begin again differently. For some of you, there may also be physical distance here, travel, different locations, or most of your connection currently happening through social media or online spaces. Then we have the Five of Pentacles, and this is where I see how much they feel your absence. They feel shut out from you. They may feel abandoned, rejected, or as though they no longer have access to the warmth and comfort you once gave them. And even when the separation was partly caused by their own choices, they may still be sitting there feeling sorry for themselves. It's almost like, I miss them, I feel alone, I wish things were different. But the Five of Pentacles is also a card of insecurity. This person may not feel good enough to return. They may believe you would reject them, that too much damage has been done, or that they do not currently have enough to offer you emotionally, financially, or practically. So yes, they are missing you, but missing you is not the same as having a plan. And that brings us to the Two of Pentacles. This person is still undecided. They're going back and forth, One day they may convince themselves they need to contact you and fix this. The next day, they may decide it would be easier to leave everything alone. They may even be juggling other responsibilities, financial pressure, work, family issues, or another situation that's taking up their energy. But regardless of what they are juggling, the result is inconsistency. They have not firmly decided, I'm going back and I'm going to do whatever it takes to rebuild this properly. Right now, it feels more like they're emotionally hovering around the connection. They miss you, they wonder about you, they may fantasize about finding their way back into your life. But when it comes to making a serious decision and following through with consistent effort, they're still wavering. And I want to be honest about that because the devil already showed us how attached they are. This person could come back because they feel lonely, because they miss your attention, or because they're struggling with the reality of losing you. But that would not automatically mean they've healed, changed, or become ready to build something healthy. So my answer is they have thought about coming back, and part of them absolutely wants the connection again. But at this moment, they seem to want relief from the separation more than they are genuinely prepared to do the work required for reconciliation. Before you do accept any return from this person, you would need to look at what they are actually offering and not just how emotional they seem when they come back. So now we need to look at what is actually keeping them stuck, because there is clearly still attachment here, but something is stopping them from making a firm decision. Alright, so we have 3 of Pentacles, 6 of Wands, 4 of Pentacles. Honestly, I think one of the biggest blockages here is their pride. The 6 of Wands is someone who's very aware of how they are perceived. They want to feel admired, respected, and in control of the way other people see them. So this person may be struggling with the idea of coming back because returning would require them to admit that they were wrong, that they still care, or that walking away did not affect them in the way they wanted everyone to believe. They may have created this image that they are fine, that they have moved on, or that the ending was their decision. And now coming back would mean swallowing their pride and potentially risking rejection. That is difficult for someone who wants to feel like they are the one holding all the power. Then with the 3 of Pentacles, this also tells me there may be outside opinions influencing them. This could be friends, family, co-workers, or people who know about what happened between the two of you. They may be receiving advice from others, or worrying about what those people would think if they returned. For some of you, work or practical responsibilities are genuinely taking up a lot of their energy. They may be focused on building their career, finances, reputation, or some kind of project. But I also feel like this person may be using those responsibilities as a convenient excuse. Almost like, I have too much going on, this isn't the right time. And yes, they may genuinely be busy, but being busy does not completely explain why they cannot communicate honestly. The 3 of Pentacles can also show that they know reconciliation would require effort. They know they cannot just send a casual message, reappear in your life, and expect everything to go back to normal. They would have to rebuild trust. They would have to listen to you. They would have to show consistency and possibly work through the exact problems they avoided the first time. And I don't know whether this person currently feels prepared to do that. Then we have the 4 of Pentacles, which is very closed energy. This person is holding everything tightly inside. Their feelings, their fears, their regrets, none of it is being expressed properly. They may believe that if they open up, they will lose control of the situation. So instead, they hold back. They watch, they think, they miss you. They may even plan what they want to say. But then they stop themselves because reaching out would make them vulnerable. And this person does not seem comfortable with vulnerability. There's also a possessive quality here as well. They may not be actively coming forward, but they also do not like the idea of you fully moving on. they may still feel some kind of claim over their connection, even though they're not currently doing anything to maintain it. And that links us back to the devil we had earlier. They're still attached, but they want to keep that attachment contained and controlled rather than confronting it honestly. So I do not feel like another romantic person is the main blockage for most of you. There could be outside influences or other priorities, but the bigger issue is the person's pride, their fear of rejection, and their unwillingness to let go of control. They want to come back without feeling exposed. They want reassurance that you want them before they take the risk. And they may even want you to make the first move so they can avoid being the one who has to admit how much this separation has affected them. But unless they're willing to lower their guard and actually participate in rebuilding this connection, they're going to remain exactly where they are, thinking about you, holding on to you internally, but not doing enough to create real movement. So now let's see whether they remain trapped in that pride or whether something finally pushes them to take action towards you. Okay, so we have the Seven of Pentacles, the Knight of Swords, and the Three of Wands. And I do think there is a strong possibility of communication here, but it does not feel like they act immediately. The Seven of Pentacles shows me that this person is still in a period of waiting, watching, and evaluating. They're looking at everything that has happened between the two of you and questioning whether the connection can still be repaired. It feels like they're asking themselves, is there still something here worth returning to? Have I left this too long? Would they even be open to hearing from me now? They may also be waiting for some kind of sign from you. That could be something very direct, but it could also be as subtle as seeing you interact with something online, noticing that you have not moved on, or feeling like your energy toward them has softened. The frustrating thing is that the Seven of Pentacles can keep someone sitting there for far too long. They may believe they're being patient and carefully considering their options, but from your perspective, it may simply look like they're doing absolutely nothing. They are not disconnected though. They're still looking at this connection. They're still thinking about what they invested in it and whether anything could grow from it again. Then we move on to the Knight of Swords, and this is a completely different energy. The Knight of Swords does not slowly ease their way back in. This is someone suddenly deciding, right, I need to say something, and acting before they can talk themselves out of it again. So I could see this person reaching out quite unexpectedly. It might happen after they've been silent for a while, which could make the message feel even more abrupt. You may have started believing they were never going to contact you, and then suddenly their name appears on your phone. Something is likely to trigger that urgency. They could hear something about you through another person, see something online, become worried that you're moving on, or simply reach a point where holding everything inside becomes harder than risking the conversation. Remember, we had the Four of Pentacles showing that they're trying to contain and control all of this. The Knight of Swords feels like the moment that control slips. Their thoughts start racing, the fear of losing you becomes louder, and they decide they need answers. But I do want to be honest about the quality of this approach. The Knight of Swords can communicate very quickly without necessarily communicating very well. So the first message may be impulsive, blunt, defensive, or slightly chaotic. They might come in wanting to clear the air. For some of you, this could be a serious conversation that begins through an unserious message. They might test the waters with something casual, asking how you are, sending something that reminds them of you, or finding an excuse to contact you. When underneath that, they're actually trying to work out whether the door is still open. Then we have the Three of Wands, and I want to mention that we now have quite a few threes appearing in this reading. We have had the Three of Swords, the Three of Pentacles, and now the Three of Wands. In numerology, 3 is connected to communication, expression, expansion, and something beginning to develop beyond its current form. So it is interesting that communication has been such a major theme throughout this pile. There are words that need to be spoken, pain that's not been expressed properly, and a connection that cannot really move forward until both people are willing to have an honest conversation. The repeating threes may also be significant if you've been seeing 333, if March is important, or if 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months holds meaning for you. I'd not take that as a guaranteed timeline though, because the Seven of Pentacles slows this energy down. The pattern I see is more important than the exact number. Waiting and hesitation first, followed by a sudden decision to act. The Three of Wands also suggests that after reaching out, they will be watching closely to see what happens next. They want to know whether there's a future here. They may be thinking beyond one conversation and considering whether the two of you could actually move towards something new. For some of you, distance may be relevant again. There could be physical distance, travel, or this person watching you from afar, possibly through social media. So yes, I do think contact is possible for this pile, but their initial approach may not be perfectly planned or emotionally mature. It feels like they wait until they cannot tolerate the uncertainty anymore, and then they come forward quickly because they need to know whether they have completely lost their chance. The real test will be what happens after that first conversation. Do they continue showing up once the immediate urgency has passed, or do they say everything in one burst, feel temporarily relieved, and then return to inconsistency? Because the Knight of Swords can create movement, but it does not automatically promise stability. So when this person does approach, pay less attention to how intense the first message is and more attention to whether their actions remain consistent afterwards. Okay, and then to finish off, I am going to pull you an oracle card. Alright, so you got blush, love is blooming. So essentially, love is growing around you. So I really wouldn't be surprised if this person doesn't come back into your life. But it also reminds you that there are no mistakes, only lessons, especially in love. And that's where I'll leave you, beautiful pile one. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Let me know in the comments below which parts resonated, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Alright, if you guys picked pile 2, this is your reading. And first off, we're looking at what is the current energy between you and this person. I only wanted to do 3 cards for each question, but a 4th popped out, so I will honor spirit and we'll discuss the 4th card as well. Okay, so we got Ace of Cups, 7 of Wands, Judgment, and Death has snuck out as a sneaky extra card. So immediately, this connection does not feel emotionally empty. The Ace of Cups tells me there were genuine feelings here. For some of you, the love between you may still be very present, even if neither of you is currently expressing it properly. This could have been a connection that opened your heart in a way you weren't expecting. It may have felt like a new emotional beginning, a chance to experience love differently, or simply a connection where the feelings developed very quickly. But then we have the 7 of Wands. So although the emotions are there, someone is extremely guarded. There is this defensive energy surrounding the connection, almost as though one or both of you feel you constantly have to protect yourselves. You may have reached a point where you thought, I cannot keep fighting for this by myself, or I still care but I need to protect my peace now. This person may also become defensive whenever the past is brought up. Rather than allowing themselves to be vulnerable, they may immediately put their walls up, justify their behavior, or act as though they are being attacked. And honestly, I think there may have been quite a lot of fighting to keep this relationship alive. Not necessarily constant arguments, although that may apply for some of you. It could simply mean that the connection required far more effort than it should have. There may have been outside pressure, difficult circumstances, or repeated obstacles that made it feel like the two of you could never just relax into the relationship. Then we have judgment, and this tells me the connection is currently at a major decision point. Judgment is very much an energy of looking back at everything that has happened and asking, what do we do with this now? Do we learn from it and move forward separately? Or do we finally acknowledge what went wrong, take accountability, and give the connection another chance? This person may currently be reflecting on their choices far more deeply than you realize. They could be recognizing where they let pride, fear, or old patterns affect the relationship. They may also be a desire to make amends, confess something, or answer for decisions they made in the past. Judgment is also one of those cards that can show someone or something from the past returning, but it's not a card of casually slipping back into your messages and pretending nothing happened. It demands honesty, it demands accountability. So if this person returns, the connection cannot continue exactly the same way it did before. And that's probably why death came flying out as well. And I just saw 444 on the camera as I said that. Death does not automatically mean that this relationship is permanently over, but it does confirm that the old version of it is finished. Something has changed too much. One or both of you may have changed. Your expectations may be different now, your boundaries may be stronger, or the separation may have revealed things that cannot simply be forgotten. So I do feel this connection is unfinished in the sense that there are still emotions, unanswered questions, and possibly another important conversation or decision ahead. But the relationship as it previously existed cannot be revived exactly as it was. If there is going to be another chapter, it would need to be a genuine transformation. Not just the same cycle beginning again because you miss each other. To confirm this is your pile, this may have been a connection that went through a very sudden ending or a major turning point. You may have had on and off dynamic, or there may have already been conversations about second chances, forgiveness, or whether the two of you could start over. Scorpio energy may also be significant, and judgment can sometimes bring in themes of awakening, hearing a calling, or suddenly seeing the situation much more clearly. So the feelings have not completely disappeared, but right now, the energy between you is asking a much bigger question than, do we still love each other? It's asking whether both people are actually willing to change enough for this connection to become something different. So now let's look at how this person is actually feeling about you and the separation, because having love for someone and being ready to face what happened are two very different things. Okay, so we have 2 of Swords, 6 of Wands, and 8 of Swords. Honestly, this person is trying very hard not to look directly at how they feel. The two of Swords shows me someone who has shut down. That does not mean they don't care. It usually means they care enough that fully opening the door to those feelings would force them to make a decision. And right now, they would rather avoid the decision altogether. So they may be telling themselves they're confused. They may say they do not know what they want, they need more time, or they're trying not to think about the connection. But I do not necessarily believe they are as confused as they're pretending to be. It feels more like they know that whichever direction they choose comes with consequences. If they come back, they have to face what happened, take accountability, and risk being rejected. If they don't come back, they have to accept that they may genuinely lose you. So instead they remain in the middle. They avoid, they delay, they keep the situation emotionally suspended because making no decision feels safer than making the wrong one. Then we have the 6 of Wands, which is showing me what is happening in their thoughts and in their ego. This person wants to feel like they still matter to you. They want to know that you still think about them, that they could still get your attention, or that the connection has not completely moved beyond their reach. There is pride here. They may be very concerned with appearing as though they're doing well after the separation. They could be posting more, trying to look confident, acting unaffected, or making sure other people believe they have moved on. But I do feel some of this is performance. The Six of Wands wants recognition. So even if this person is not directly approaching you, they may still be looking for signs that you miss them. They may wonder whether you're watching them, whether you'd respond if they reached out, or whether they still hold the same position in your heart. For some of you, they may expect you to make the first move because that would protect their pride. They want the reassurance without having to take the emotional risk. Then we have the Eight of Swords, which is what they're refusing to acknowledge. They're the one keeping themselves trapped. This person may genuinely feel powerless. They may believe the situation is too complicated, too damaged, or too far gone for them to do anything about it. But the Eight of Swords often shows that the restriction is mostly coming from fear and perception. They're thinking themselves into paralysis. They may replay every possible outcome. What if they reject me? What if they've moved on? What if we try again and it fails? What if I have to admit that I was wrong? And because they cannot guarantee that the outcome will be comfortable, they do nothing. I also find it interesting that we have the Seven of Wands in the first section, and now we have the Two of Swords and the Eight of Swords. This person is heavily defended. They're not allowing their feelings to move freely. They're trying to control the situation by keeping emotional distance, but all that is really doing is keeping them stuck inside their own head. So how do they feel about you? They're conflicted. They still care about how you see them. They still want to feel significant to you, and I believe they are far more affected by the separation than they are showing. But instead of sitting honestly with those emotions, they're hiding behind indecision and pride. The Six of Wands may make them look confident from the outside, while the Eight of Swords tells us that internally they're going around in circles. And that is important because judgment and death already showed us that this connection requires a major decision and real change. At the moment, this person can feel that decision hanging over them, but they're still avoiding being the one to make it. So there are definitely feelings here, but they're keeping themselves suspended between wanting your attention and being too afraid to act. Now let's see whether they genuinely want to come back or whether they are more comfortable keeping this connection in limbo. We have the Seven of Pentacles, the High Priestess, and the Two of Swords again. Honestly, the fact the Two of Swords has repeated itself is extremely significant. This person is still sitting in indecision. They have not emotionally dismissed this connection, but they also have not reached the point where they're firmly saying, I'm going back and I'm going to do what is necessary to repair this. The Seven of Pentacles tells me they're still assessing everything. They're looking back at the time, emotion, and energy they invested into this connection and wondering whether it could still become something. There is a sense of them asking, was everything we went through for nothing? Could this still work if we tried again? Have I waited too long? So yes, they do think about the possibility of returning. They may imagine what would happen if the two of you spoke again, or whether their connection would grow differently this time. But the Seven of Pentacles is not quick-moving energy. This is someone waiting, watching, thinking, evaluating, and possibly doing that for much longer than is actually necessary. It feels like they're hoping the answer will somehow become obvious without them having to take the risk of making a decision. Then we have the High Priestess. This person is keeping an enormous amount hidden. Their feelings may be much deeper than what they are showing you, but they're choosing silence. They may believe that you already know how they feel, almost like they expect you to intuitively understand that the connection still matters to them, even though they're not saying or doing anything to prove it. And I'm sorry, but expecting someone to read your mind is not the same as communicating. The High Priestess can also show that they are observing you quietly. They may be watching from a distance, checking social media, asking about you indirectly, or simply trying to sense whether you would be receptive to them returning, but they don't want to reveal their position first. They may also be something they have not told you yet. That could be a feeling, a regret, a personal circumstance, or something that influenced the separation. I don't automatically read the High Priestess as another person here, but there is definitely information being withheld. This person's not fully shown you what is going on underneath the surface. And then we come back to the Two of Swords again. So this is no longer a small part of their energy. This is the main pattern. They are actively avoiding the decision. They may want another chance emotionally, but they're trying to remain detached mentally because choosing to return would mean confronting everything, judgment and death brought up earlier. They cannot come back and pretend nothing happened. They would have to acknowledge what ended, what needs to change, and what part they played in creating the separation. And I think that is where they freeze, because part of them wants to preserve the possibility of the connection without actually risking the reality of it. As long as they remain silent, they can imagine that you may still want them. They fantasize about reconciliation. They can believe that perhaps one day the timing will be better, but they do not have to find out whether you would reject them, challenge them, or require them to change. So do they want to come back? Part of them does, yes. They have not completely let go of the emotional potential here. They're still considering whether the connection could be rebuilt, but are they currently willing to make a clear decision and take meaningful action? Not yet. This is someone who's keeping their feelings private, watching the situation, and waiting for clarity to arrive while avoiding the very choice that would create that clarity. Because the Two of Swords has appeared twice, I would be very cautious about waiting for this person indefinitely. They may genuinely care. They may genuinely wonder about another chance, but unless they move out of this passive, secretive, indecisive energy, the connection remains only a possibility, not an actual reconciliation. So they have not completely closed the door, but they're refusing to choose whether to walk through it. Let's look at what's keeping them so deeply stuck in this indecision. Alright, so we have the Knight of Swords, the Three of Coins, the Three of Wands, and the Page of Coins for a sneaky fourth. This is interesting because for someone who's been showing so much indecision, their mind actually seems incredibly active. The Knight of Swords tells me they may still think about contacting you very suddenly. They could have moments where they feel completely determined, like, that's it, I'm going to message them, I need to sort this out. They may even write something, rehearse the conversation in their head, or come very close to acting. But the Knight of Swords can be impulsive and reactive. This person may not trust themselves to communicate calmly. They could be worried that once the conversation begins, something they have been holding back will come rushing out at once. There may have been arguments between you in the past where things escalated quickly. Words were said without enough thought, or one person became defensive before the other could properly explain themselves. So part of their blockage may be that they do not know how to approach you without creating another conflict. They want answers, but they may also want to control the conversation. They might imagine coming forward, saying everything they need to say, and receiving the response they are hoping for, but they cannot control your reaction. And that uncertainty sends them straight back to the Two of Swords energy. Then we have the Three of Pentacles. This tells me the practical work involved in rebuilding the connection is also intimidating them. They know this would require cooperation. It would mean listening to you, working through the issues together, rebuilding trust, and proving through their actions that something has genuinely changed. They cannot fix this relationship through one dramatic conversation, and I think part of them knows that. The Three of Pentacles can also show outside opinions or other people influencing the situation. Friends, family members, colleagues, or even people who only know one side of the story may have opinions about whether the two of you should reconnect. This person may care too much about what other people think, particularly because we already have the Six of Wands. They may have presented themselves to others as though they were finished with this relationship, completely fine, or somehow above the situation. Coming back could require them to admit that they're not as unaffected as they have pretended to be. For some of you, work, study, finances, or practical commitments could also be a genuine factor. This person may feel as though they need to get their life into a more stable position before they can offer you anything. But there is a difference between needing time to build stability and using practical circumstances as a permanent reason to avoid emotional responsibility. Then we have the Three of Wands, and now we have two threes sitting beside each other, Three of Pentacles and the Three of Wands. In numerology, the number 3 is associated with communication, growth, creativity, and expansion. It's about taking something that currently exists as an idea or a possibility and beginning to develop it into something more. So communication is clearly part of what needs to happen here. But these threes are also showing me that this person is looking ahead without necessarily taking the steps required to get there. The Three of Wands can be someone imagining the future, waiting for the right opportunity, and wondering what might happen, but still remaining at a distance. They may be waiting for you to give them an opening, watching for a sign that you're still interested, or they may be telling themselves they will approach once the timing is perfect, but perfect timing can become another excuse. There may also be literal distance between you, different locations, travel, different schedules, or a situation where one of you has begun moving forward in a new direction. And I think this person is very aware that your life is not standing still while they make their mind up. The repeated threes could be significant if you've been seeing 333, if March is important, or if something happened 3 weeks or 3 months ago. But more broadly, the threes are showing that this connection cannot remain exactly where it is. It either needs communication and genuine development, or both people will eventually expand beyond it in different directions. And then we have the Page of Pentacles. This person may want a new beginning, but they don't feel entirely confident about what they can offer. The Page of Pentacles is sincere, but still inexperienced, so they may know they need to come forward with something practical, an apology, a genuine offer, a plan, or evidence they are willing to do things differently. But they may not know where to begin. There could also be some emotional immaturity here, not necessarily in the sense that they don't care, but they may lack the relationship skills to navigate something this complicated. They might believe that sending one message or making one small gesture should be enough, without fully understanding that rebuilding trust takes consistent effort over time. So what is stopping them? Their mind races ahead, but their practical actions do not catch up. They fear the conversation becoming confrontational. They know rebuilding would require cooperation and accountability. They may be influenced by other people or practical circumstances, and they're still waiting for some perfect opening instead of creating one themselves. This person may genuinely want another opportunity, but right now, they're standing at the beginning of the process, holding the idea of reconciliation without fully understanding how much maturity and consistency it would require to make it work. Okay, so next let's see what they're actually most likely to do next. Okay, so we have the Eight of Wands, Nine of Cups, and the Eight of Coins, or the Eight of Pentacles. Honestly, after all of the waiting, silence, and indecision we've seen from this person, this is significant change in energy. The Eight of Wands is movement. It's communication, messages, momentum, and something that's been held back suddenly beginning to move quite quickly. So yes, I do think there is a strong possibility that this person contacts you. This could be a direct message, a phone call, or several messages arriving close together once they finally begin talking. It does not feel like they calmly send one perfectly thought out sentence and then disappear. It feels more like the floodgates opening. Remember we had the Knight of Swords in the previous section, showing those sudden sudden moments where they feel an intense urge to speak to you. The Eight of Wands suggests that eventually one of these urges may actually turn into action. They could reach out after seeing something connected to you, hearing news about you, or becoming worried that you're moving forward without them. There may also be a conversation that moves much faster than either of you expected. You could begin by exchanging a fairly simple message, and then suddenly you're discussing the relationship, the separation, and everything that was never properly said. For some of you, literal distance is relevant again. The Eight of Wands can connect with travel, long distance communication, or someone making plans to see you after communicating from afar. Then we have the Nine of Cups, and I feel that what causes them to act is their own emotional desire. They want something from this connection. They may miss the way you made them feel. They may want the comfort, affection, attention, or emotional satisfaction they experienced with you. This person has likely spent a great deal of time imagining what it would feel like to speak to you again. They may fantasize about you responding warmly, forgiving them, or confirming that you still have feelings. The Nine of Cups is often called a wish fulfillment card, so for some of you, they may genuinely see reconciliation with you as something they want. But I do want to be slightly careful with this card because it can also be quite self-focused. Initially, they may reach out because communicating with you would make them feel better. They want relief from the uncertainty. They want to know whether you still care. They want their wish to be granted. So when they contact you, pay attention to whether they are genuinely considering your emotional needs as well, or whether the conversation is mostly about making themselves feel reassured, because wanting you back and being prepared to treat you properly are still two different things. Then we move on to the Eight of Pentacles, and this is where the energy becomes more promising. The Eight of Pentacles is effort. It's someone recognizing that something worth having requires consistency, learning, and work. So this person may initially come in quite quickly with the Eight of Wands, but then realize that one conversation is not going to repair everything. They may need to prove themselves through repeated actions. That could mean communicating more consistently, taking accountability, addressing a practical issue between you, or showing that they are willing to change the behaviors that contributed to the separation. The Page of Pentacles in the previous section showed someone who may not completely know how to begin rebuilding. The Eight of Pentacles suggests they may be willing to learn. They may start slowly, possibly making mistakes along the way, but there is at least the potential for their approach to become more serious and practical. And I want to mention that we have two eights with the Eight of Wands and the Eight of Coins. In numerology, 8 is connected to personal power, action, discipline, karmic cycles, and creating tangible results. It's not just about thinking or wishing. 8 asks, what are you actually going to do? That feels extremely relevant because this person has spent so much of the reading stuck in the Two of Swords, avoiding decisions, remaining silent, and waiting for something outside of themselves to create clarity. The repeated 8 suggests that their energy may finally move from thought into action. They may realize that if they want a different result, they have to behave differently. 8 can also represent cycles though, so there is a warning here not to confuse repeated activity with genuine progress. Someone can message you constantly, have intense conversations, and still repeat the exact same relationship patterns. The 8 of Coins is what determines whether this becomes meaningful. Are they actually working on the problem? Are they listening? Are they becoming more consistent? Or are they simply putting temporary effort into getting access to you again? The number 8 may also be personally significant. You could be seeing 88 or 888. August may matter, or something could develop over 8 days, weeks, or months. I'd not promise that as an exact time frame, especially because this person has shown so much hesitation already. But once they do choose to move, The Eight of Wands suggests the communication itself could happen very quickly. So yes, I believe this person is likely to contact you. Their desire to reconnect, receive reassurance, or fulfill the wish they still have around this connection may be what finally pushes them to act. And compared with pile 1, this person has slightly more potential to follow the conversation with actual effort, but you will need to watch what happens after the initial excitement. Do they continue putting in the work once they know you are receptive, or does their effort fade as soon as they feel emotionally satisfied again? Because the message may come quickly, but their consistency afterwards will show you whether they genuinely want to rebuild, or whether they only wanted proof that they could still reach you. Now to close off your reading, pile 2, I'm just going to draw you an oracle card. Alright, and you guys got dragonfly, there's a deeper meaning. So I believe that your connection with this person has been for a deeper meaning. You have 100% needed to learn lessons from this person and this connection. So never forget that everything happens for a reason. Life and things don't get done to you, it's all done for you at the end of the day. So perhaps you need to take some time to think about what this connection has taught you. And that's where I leave you, the beautiful souls of pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. Please let me know if you did. Let me know what parts resonated, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Okay, pile 3. I didn't shuffle on screen. Originally I wasn't going to do a pile 3, I was just going to do 2. And then I drew the cards and I was intrigued. So sorry pile 3 for almost not doing your video. But for the first question, we're looking at the current energy between you and this person. So we have the Magician, the Sun, and the Hanged Man. Immediately, there is still a very strong energetic connection between the two of you. With the Magician, I feel like both of you are still very aware of each other. There may be a sense that this connection could be restarted, or that one conversation could completely change the current situation. This person may be thinking about what they could say, how they could approach you, or whether they still have the ability to draw you back in. There is also a lot of attraction here. The Magician can be quite magnetic, so this may have been a connection where the chemistry felt immediate and difficult to ignore. Then we have the Sun, which tells me there was genuinely happy moments between you. This person may associate you with warmth, confidence, fun, or a time when life simply felt lighter. Even if the separation became complicated, they have not forgotten the happiness that existed here. The Sun can also bring clarity, so something about this connection may soon become much more obvious. Feelings that have been hidden or avoided may not stay hidden forever. But then we have the Hanged Man, and this is where the connection is currently sitting. Paused. There are feelings, attraction, and potential, but very little movement. Someone is waiting, watching, or trying to understand the situation from a different perspective before acting. This could also show that one of you has already sacrificed quite a lot for the connection and is no longer willing to keep doing all the emotional work alone. So yes, this connection still feels unfinished, but right now it's suspended between what could happen and what is actually happening. There is potential here, but someone needs to stop simply thinking about what they could create and finally decide whether they're willing to take action. So there is still warmth and potential here, but the connection is currently sitting at a standstill. Let's look at how this person actually feels about you and the separation. Alright, so we have the Knight of Pentacles, 3 of Pentacles, and 2 of Pentacles. The first thing I want to point out is that every single card here is a Pentacles card. So this person is approaching the connection in a very practical, cautious way. Their feelings may be genuine, but they're not allowing emotion alone to guide them. They're thinking about what is realistic, what would actually work, and whether the relationship could be stable long term. Emotionally, The Knight of Pentacles shows someone who still cares but moves incredibly slowly. They may not be expressive or dramatic about their feelings. This is more like a quiet, steady attachment that has not completely gone away. They may feel that if they return, they need to do it properly. They do not want to rush in, promise everything, and then disappoint you again. The downside is that this person can take so long deciding what the right move is that from your perspective, it may look like they're not moving at all. Then the Three of Pentacles shows that they're thinking about whether the two of you could actually work together. They know that repairing this connection would require communication, cooperation, and effort from both sides. They may be looking back at where the relationship functioned well and where the two of you struggled to operate as a team. There could also be work, study, finances, or another practical responsibility taking up a lot of their attention right now. But what they're refusing to acknowledge is shown by the Two of Pentacles. They're still going back and forth. Part of them wants to invest in the connection, but another part is questioning whether they can manage everything involved. They may be juggling responsibilities, trying to maintain control of their life, or telling themselves they need to sort other things out before dealing with the relationship. So how do they feel? They still see value in you and in what the two of you could potentially build, but they're treating the connection almost like a serious decision they need to carefully calculate rather than something they can simply follow their heart toward. The feelings are not absent. They're just being filtered through practicality, caution, and the question of whether they can offer you the consistency this relationship would require. So do they still see potential here? So they do still see potential here, but they're weighing it very carefully. Let's see whether they genuinely want to come back or whether they're more comfortable keeping this as something they might do one day. Okay, so we have the Eight of Cups, the Ace of Cups, and the Ace of Wands. And this feels like someone who may have tried to walk away emotionally, but has not completely released the possibility of beginning again with you. The Eight of Cups tells me at some point, this person felt they needed to distance themselves from the connection. They may have believed walking away was the sensible choice, or they may have reached a point where the relationship felt too emotionally complicated to continue in the same way. This can also show someone who left because something felt incomplete, even though feelings were still present. So I don't necessarily see the Eight of Cups here as I stopped caring and moved on. It feels more like I could not keep doing things the way we were doing them. They may still be searching for clarity, emotional fulfillment, or some understanding of what they truly want before returning. But then we have the Ace of Cups, and this tells me that emotionally there is still an openness towards you. They may want another chance to express feelings that were never properly communicated. There could be a desire to apologize, reconnect emotionally, or see whether the two of you could begin again from a more honest place. The Ace of Cups is not just nostalgia, it's the potential for a fresh emotional beginning. So unlike someone who only misses the comfort of the past, this person may genuinely wonder whether new feelings could grow between you again, without carrying every old issue straight into the new chapter. Then we have the Ace of Wands, which brings in attraction, desire, excitement, and the impulse to take action. This person is still very drawn to you. There may be strong physical chemistry here, but I also feel they are drawn to the possibility of reigniting the connection and seeing what could happen if they approach things differently. The Ace of Wands is very much that moment of suddenly thinking, maybe I should just go for it. So there may be times when they feel a strong urge to contact you, see you, or act on the attraction that is still present. But I want to point out that we have two aces here. Aces are new beginnings, opportunities, and the opening of a door. With both the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Wands, this person does appear to want a new emotional, passionate beginning with you, but the key word is new. They do not necessarily want to return to the exact relationship the two of you had before. The Eight of Cups suggests there were reasons that version of the connection could not continue. So if they come back, they may want to treat it as a fresh start rather than immediately picking up where everything left off. The two aces can also show that the desire is still in its early stages. The potential is there, but an ace is an opportunity, not a guarantee. They still have to choose to take opportunity and then sustain it with real action. So do they actually want to come back? Yes, I do think a significant part of them wants another chance. They still have emotional feelings, there is still attraction, and they may feel inspired by the possibility of starting again, but they're not looking to revive the old dynamic exactly as it was. This feels more like someone who would only return if they believe the two of you could leave certain patterns behind and create something genuinely different. So the desire is there. The question now is whether they're prepared to move beyond the idea of a fresh start and actually do what is necessary to create one. So there is a real desire for another beginning here, but wanting a fresh start and being ready to create one are not always the same thing. Let's see what's currently stopping them from coming back. Okay, we have the Nine of Pentacles, the Two of Pentacles, and the High Priestess. Once again, Pentacles energy is showing up very strongly in this reading. This person seems extremely focused on their practical life, work, money, routine, responsibilities, and whether they feel secure within themselves. With the Nine of Pentacles, one of the blockages may be that they have become very comfortable with their independence. They may have spent the separation rebuilding their confidence, focusing on themselves, or creating a life where they do not have to answer to anyone. That does not mean they do not miss you, but coming back would require them to make space for another person again, and I think they are questioning whether they are ready to give up some of the freedom or control they currently have. For some of you, this person may also feel that they need to be in a better position before they return. They may want to feel more financially secure, established in their career, or generally more confident in what they can offer you. The Knight of Pentacles earlier showed someone who does not want to return unless they believe they can do it properly. So they may be telling themselves, once I have this sorted, then I'll deal with the relationship. The problem is that there may always be one more thing to sort out. Then we have the Two of Pentacles. Again, this person is still juggling. They may be balancing work, money, family responsibilities, study, or simply too many priorities at once. But this card can also show that they have not fully decided where this connection fits into their life. One moment they may feel ready to contact you and begin again, the next they become overwhelmed by everything that would need to change, and they put the relationship back on the shelf. So the blockage is not necessarily that there is no room for you, it's that they have not chosen to make room. They may want the Ace of Cups and the Ace of Wands, the love, the attraction, and excitement of a fresh start, but they also want to maintain their current independence and avoid disrupting the balance they have created. And honestly, they may be trying to have it both ways internally. They want to keep the possibility of you open without fully rearranging their life to make the connection work. Then we have the High Priestess, and this person is keeping a lot to themselves. They're not telling you everything they are thinking, feeling, or dealing with. There may be private circumstances influencing them that you do not know about yet. But more broadly, the High Priestess shows someone who is choosing silence over direct communication. They may be waiting for the right feeling or some intuitive sign that it's safe to approach you. They could also believe that you somehow already know how they feel, which again is not the same as actually communicating. For some of you, this person may be quietly observing you from a distance. They may be trying to work out whether you are still available, whether you seem happy without them, or whether you would be open to another chance. But they do not want to reveal their feelings until they feel certain about yours. So what is stopping them? They value their independence. They're juggling practical priorities, and instead of speaking openly, they're keeping their thoughts and feelings hidden while they wait for certainty. This person may genuinely want a new beginning with you, but they're still questioning how much they would need to change or sacrifice to make that beginning real. And until they decide that this connection deserves an actual place in their life, not just a place in their thoughts, they may continue quietly holding back. Let's see whether they stay silent or whether they're actually likely to make a move. Let's see whether they stay silent or whether they're actually likely to make a move. So we have the Six of Pentacles, the Three of Wands, and the Eight of Swords. The Six of Pentacles tells me this person is considering making some kind of effort. They may want to reach out, offer an apology, check in with you, or begin giving back to a connection where the energy previously felt uneven. For some of you, they know you were the one putting in much more effort before. You may have been the one initiating conversations, offering emotional support, or trying to keep their connection moving while they remain slow or inconsistent. So if they approach, I feel they will want to show you that they are willing to meet you halfway. This may begin with a relatively small gesture rather than a huge declaration. A message, an offer to help with something, a casual invitation, or an attempt to reopen communication without placing too much pressure on the situation. But then we have the Three of Wands. This person is still watching and waiting. They may be looking for the right opportunity to come forward, possibly watching you from a distance or trying to work out whether you would be receptive. There may be physical distance between you, or this could simply be someone who spends a lot of time imagining what might happen before they actually take action. The Three of Wands does show future planning though, so I do think they're considering what a renewed connection could look like beyond just one message. They may be asking themselves whether the two of you could rebuild gradually, whether the timing is better now, or whether there's still a place for them in your future. But the Eight of Swords tells me they are likely to get in their own way. They could overthink the message, imagine every possible negative response, and convince themselves that reaching out is more complicated than it needs to be. They may worry that you will reject them, that you will expect more than they can currently offer, or that reopening the connection will bring back emotions they have been trying to control. So their next action may be delayed. It feels like they want to offer something, they look ahead and imagine doing it, and then their own fears cause them to hesitate. That fits with the Hanged Man at the beginning of this reading. There's been potential here from the start, but movement keeps being suspended by someone's uncertainty. So will they contact you? I think there is a possibility, yes. The Six of Pentacles does suggest an exchange and an attempt to restore communication, but I would not expect them to come charging in dramatically. Their approach is much more likely to be cautious and measured, possibly even so subtle that they're testing whether you'll meet them halfway. This is where you need to watch the balance. If they make one small gesture, do not immediately return to doing all the emotional work for them. Let them demonstrate that they are genuinely willing to contribute consistently, because this person may want another chance, but the Eight of Swords shows that fear could still make them retreat if the situation begins to feel emotionally overwhelming. So their likely next action is an attempt to reopen the exchange, but only after a period of watching, planning, and almost certainly overthinking it. The final question is whether allowing them back would actually lead to something healthier, or simply place you back inside the same waiting cycle. Alright, so to close the reading off for you, Group 3, Pile 3, I'm gonna draw an oracle card. For the first two piles, I pulled from this oracle deck. However, I just had a message from my deities and guides that I need to use this one for you guys. So I'm not sure if you are into crystals, If you are into crystals, that's a definite yes that this is for you. And you guys got spirit guides, celestite. I can never pronounce these words. I believe your spirit guides and your guides are trying to communicate with you, group 3, about this relationship. You need to try to remain open to these messages. They could be as simple as seeing the same repeated numbers, or perhaps somewhere in this reading, they really wanted you to focus on something that was said. Take some time to sit with that. Perhaps you need to do some meditating as well, just to see if you can hear any messages that come through into your mind. But they definitely want you to pay attention to something that's around this connection. I hope that the reading resonated, group 3. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. If you've made it this far, you've made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed the reading. Don't forget to click like, comment down below how you found the reading, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with all of my future readings. And hopefully I see you when you're scrolling next.